everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's book review is Race to the Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Now, I read a bunch of Rick's books. There are too many R's in Rick's name and it really messes me up. It's embarrassing, but also like I just can't get it, so we're gonna move on and forget like that didn't exist. Read a bunch of his books, of course, and then I came upon the Rick Riordan Presents, and this is one of them out of many. And it's really hard to find books written by Native Americans about Native Americans, and there's just also, it's just really hard to find books about Native Americans in general. That's the same as TV shows and movies. So I was really excited to see a book about a Native American girl living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and she is, turns out, related to many monster slayers, and she's a monster slayer herself. And so when monsters kidnap her dad, she and her brother Mac and her friend Davery, I'm gonna say it's Davery because it's Dave R-Y, Davery. I could be wrong, but I think I'm gonna go with Davery, okay. I try my best with those R's. You obviously can tell I didn't learn phonics when I was in elementary school, and I didn't. They totally skipped that, so I try really hard, so apologies in advance. But if you have watched multiple videos of mine, you already were on the same page. But if you haven't, I'm really bad with phonics. I can't hear certain sounds as well. So anyway, getting that embarrassment out of the way, I really wanted to read this novel. I know Rebecca has adult novels out, but I just wanted to read this because it was also on sale. And I'm really interested in gods and goddesses and the mythology and the history and just the overall literature behind myths and legends of all cultures, societies, and human beings. I'm really interested as well in Native American culture, and it's, like I said, it's really hard to find something, anything that's not nonfiction. Like you can find a lot of nonfiction books about Native Americans, indigenous people, the many wars between the English, French, Spanish, you know. But in the fiction, it's difficult. So that's why I jumped on this. I do read middle grade. This is middle grade, but I would say it is upper middle grade. Not really for, I would say, 6th graders, more like 8th graders, and you could even probably push it to 9th graders. I know that's high school, but you can, I would say, 7th through 9th graders. And I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Now, why did I do 4 out of 5 stars? I think the biggest thing happening with Rick's storytelling that is also in Rick Riordan, and Rick's, you know, and the Rick Riordan Presents book series or section of publishing house, I think through Disney, is that they're kind of all the same. Like the stories are set up in the same way. They're obviously different cultures and societies and what they think as gods and goddesses, but it's the same situations and how the gods react to humans and how gods act as it is for Rick originally wrote in his novels, or still does. So that was a little, I'm like, I could have gotten a little more originality, I guess. Like how do the Navajo gods and goddesses react? And I know that there are stories about it, and a lot of them are written down, a lot of them are presented orally, but it's not the same as Rick's gods and goddesses of, you know, Roman and even Greek ideas. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between cultures, even cultures that have never interacted before. It's just like a thing with us humans. But it's a little too familiar. I also thought that way of Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. It was a little too like Rick and his Roman gods and goddesses set up. So that's a little bit of like a, I don't know, it's not bad, but it's not great, because I want more originality. That being said, I did really enjoy the book, and I enjoy the characters as well. Though, so when the main characters go on their quest, it's like a journey, the Rainbow Road, they have to pass 4 tests. And so the first one, really intense, understand. The second one, weird. I don't 100% get why it was there. And that was kind of like, I don't think this would count as a test. Even though they're, you know, they're young, the first one is where the main character loses her brother, and she has to decide with her best friend, Davery, do we continue forward? That's really hardcore, and I understand that's definitely a test. The second test is they're going through it's a swamp. I can't like figure out the name of it, but it's like a swamp kind of thing. There's a lot of cattails, and they're really sharp, so they're getting cut up, and then they put mud on their exposed skin, and then they go through with no problem. I don't know about that. Like, it was only a few pages, whereas all the other 3 were pretty significant, so I don't know what that was about. The test was to go through like a field of knives, which, okay, you can do a lot of interesting stuff with the test is to go through a field with knives, but it's cattails with sharp edges, and those count as knives, and then you just put mud on your exposed skin and you go through, and like it's 3 pages. I don't know. I didn't like that part. Third test was her and Davery wanting to be popular, so they're at a prom, and they have to realize that it's fake. And that was interesting, because the whole thing is they want to be popular in their school. And then, you know, the fourth one is really intense as well, because they're looking at like a sea of mirrors, and Nizone looks in one mirror and sees her mom, and why and how. It's just like a flashback of why her mom left, and it was to kill monsters, because she's also a monster slayer. Those were really intense. Not so much the problem, but that one makes sense. The second one, that was a really big disappointment, and I don't know the meaning behind the mud on, you know, cattails, sharp cattails and mud on the skin, and they went through. Maybe the second tests are easy. I don't know, because the other 3 had big significance, but that one didn't. And then I also, you know, at the end, it seemed a little rushed. The fighting was not that long, and it wasn't very complex. I know, like, there are other books in, like, the Rick Riordan Presents that it really is an intense fight scene. It makes sense, because you're going up against gods and goddesses and monsters and demons, you know, all that stuff, but this didn't seem very intense to me. But then again, you know, it is middle grade, and, you know, Rebecca could have thought, you know, it's not really about the fighting and the winning, it's about the journey and the characters growing and realizing that they don't have to be Instagram or YouTube famous. They are themselves, and their history, the monster slayer history, their relatives, their family are monster slayers. So they don't need to be popular with the world. They're doing important work for society. And not even, I would even say, not even just Navajo society in New Mexico, specifically in Albuquerque, but it also, you know, the monsters also affect everyone else. You know, if they destroy the world, well, we're all in trouble, aren't we? Like, so it's important work. It's secretive work, but it's really important. And that's what it is all about. And it's also about being yourself and knowing who you are and not trying to put on a front for people, like people on the internet, you know. And that is really important. And I think that's really home hitting for middle graders, middle schoolers, you know, or even, you know, early like 13, 14-year-olds, because you do have a lot of preteens and teenagers and even kids, which that's just a different story, but preteens and teenagers specifically, where they want to be Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube famous, and they're not being themselves. They're pretending to be someone that they're not because they think that the world or their friends or fellow TikTokers, I'm not on TikTok. I guess fellow TikTokers is the term you use, whatever, that they have to be someone they're not, and so they're not themselves, and they're completely forgetting about who they are and who their family is and their ancestors and their heritage, their culture. They're just forgetting about, as the, you know, book is, who are you inside? You don't have to be TikTok or Instagram famous to be important. And I think that is the key point that is really important. And I'm just going to hit home with that. I think that's one of the most important aspects of this book. The representation is really important. And then also, like, tying that together with you are important and you don't have to fake being yourself. That really hit home, and that's really great that Rebecca Roanhorse tied together with Navajo heritage, but also it's every single preteen and teenager they're going through right now, and I'm just glad that someone is saying it. And I'm sure there's maybe other middle grade writers that are writing about that. I don't read enough, I guess, but I'm glad I saw it in this book in particular. So thank you so much for watching my book review on Race to the Sun. Have a great reading day and have a great writing day as well. Bye!